White House spokesman Jay Carney told reporters today that although the NSA surveillance was made legal by the Patriot Act, greater oversight, transparency, and constraints might be necessary. He went on to say that President Obama has ordered his administration to conduct a review of NSA surveillance programs. But that response is not acceptable for world leaders who have been monitored. Two other countries have also fallen under the watchful eye of the NSA and are now in the process of drafting a UN General Assembly resolution that lays out the rules of the road moving forward. Speaking to the Huffington Post, Latin American and European diplomats said that Brazil and Germany are leading an effort to guarantee online privacy to civilians around the world. RT correspondent Anastasia Churkina joins me now with the latest. Hi there, Anastasia. Now, can you tell us which countries are involved in drafting this UNGA draft solution?
Well, Megan, Germany and Brazil are certainly spearheading this whole operation at the United Nations, understandably so, with these latest revelations around tapping the phone of German Chancellor Angela Merkel, as well as the recent cancellation of the planned trip to Washington of the Brazilian president, who also made a very fiery speech at the United Nations addressed at the United States earlier, a couple of months ago in September, where she basically said that whatever the U.S. is underway basically is a violation of international rights and laws. So basically we have Germany and Brazil, as well as 19 other countries, which include Austria, Hungary, Liechtenstein, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, Cuba, Argentina, Bolivia, Ecuador, India, Indonesia, South Africa, and several others are basically saying, look, it's now time to put pen to paper and vote on a text to address this issue on an international level. And certainly this does come several months after the whole NSA scandal broke, but these leaders are saying the time is now, and this will be, as it is, the first big international effort to address this particular issue.
And Anastasia, let me ask you, why now? It's been months since this scandal broke, so why only now are they considering this type of action?
Well, you know, we just heard a good point in Sam's report that when it comes to the elites, the rules kind of change. So we have, considering we have 35 world leaders whose phone calls have allegedly been monitored, it's reason enough for the countries around the world to come together and say, wait a minute, this really should not be going on. The question here, the curious question to me seems to be, why is it only 21 countries at this point? Because the United Nations General Assembly is made up of over 190 countries. So far, we have 21 pushing for this text, although we have to say this is just the first stages of this particular project, because a committee is going to vote on it by the end of the year, and then this text will be taken to the General Assembly. So we'll see. It's likely that more countries will follow.
And let's go ahead and pull up that map, kind of showing some of the countries that you were talking about earlier. You had mentioned that there was 21 of them. So you've got Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, South Africa, Indonesia, India, and others. Now, do we know any of the specifics yet when it comes to this draft resolution?
Well, the specifics that we know, I actually have the text here. It's very brief, Megan. It's only 2.5 pages. And we have to say that, interestingly, it does not mention the United States. It basically does not have a direct mention of the U.S. or the NSA. Uses very vague language, I have to say. And really what it does is using the existent major multilateral international treaties on human rights that were, signed and established and taken into account by countries decades ago, such as, for example, the International Covenant on Political and Civil Rights, which is a major human rights document, but it was something that was signed into international law decades ago before the internet existed. So what this document will do is try to include the more realities of the modern world and modern technologies and the use of the internet. And basically what it says is that illegal surveillance of any private communications is a violation and an intrusive act of human rights, and it basically says that this is something that needs to be monitored and watched closely. The problem here is really the amount of power the United Nations General Assembly or its texts have over other countries, which unfortunately is not big at all.
That's a very good point that you bring up right there, Anastasia, because as I understand it, the General Assembly resolution would be non-binding. So how effective will it really be?
That's true, Meghan. That's the biggest problem, really, because the UN General Assembly does not have this kind of power to be binding on any kind of document that we see come out of it. And so, yes, critics of this step are saying, you know, this is pointless because it's not really going to affect the U.S. But it is also a strong message, it seems, because, first of all, like we said, this is the first time many countries in the international community come together to voice their outrage. This is also a big body, and certainly if this is, there could be further steps where this could be taken. If this document is eventually passed at the General Assembly, there could be certain pushes to update the international legislation, for example, that all of these countries are signed up to, and that is something that would certainly have some kind of impact on the U.S. if it chooses to follow its own international treaties.
And Anastasia, we have just about 30 seconds left, but do you know what the next step in this process would be?
Well, the next step is this committee is going to put this text together, and then they're promising that by the end of the year they will present it to the United Nations General Assembly, and then a vote will take. The curious thing that we'll see is exactly how many countries end up supporting this, what has been dubbed the so-called anti-NSA resolution.
RT correspondent Anastasia Churkina bringing us the latest from the UN. Thank you.